We're recording.
1, 2.
Red light.
Trusting.
Yeah. Okay.
Trusting.
Hello, guys.
Hey,
It's
hey.
been a long time.
Well, for us.
Yeah. It has. The last time I think we sat down and spoke, we were going to go do some trips. We're
Yes.
now on the other side of
Yes,
that.
we're on the other side of the trips. We're back in sunny San Diego.
Mm-hmm. What'd you do?
I went to Iceland with the whole family, and it was absolutely great.
I saw those pictures.
Yeah.
Man.
If you ever get the opportunity to go, go. We want to go back again right away.
Take me with you.
Yeah.
Take me with you.
He's bulky, but we consider him carry-on.
Yeah.
And you went to
the PN Dubs. The PN Dubs. No, we loved it there. I'm going to retire there. When I'm done with everything, I'm here in San Diego. I'm going to hang my hat someplace along the Columbia River Gorge or Mount Hood and call it home.
Nice.
Yeah, my family loved it.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
And I've seen some of your photos from that trip too. And you even made the little poke up into Washington State.
Yeah, that was really fun.
That's awesome. Yeah.
At the time we went, they actually tore down a lot of the infrastructure to get down to where you take the really nice photos of Panther Creek.
Yeah. So
we had to find another way to get down there. We did. And it was worth it. We were the only ones there for hours.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Except the crew working on the thing.
Well, yeah, there was a crew that was over there, but it was really fun.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah.
So, what are we going to talk?
You had a topic about Lightroom.
Yes.
And plugins.
So, one of the I get a lot of questions about Lightroom and hey, how do you process? And what do you do on your mobile device? Things like that. Well, one of the questions I recently received a lot of, did I phrase that right? Was, hey, what kind of plugins? I'm interested in buying this. What do you use in your workflow? And you know what? It never really dawned on me. I actually do use quite a bit of plugins.
Yeah, okay.
One I use every time I'm in Lightroom, and it's JPEG Mini.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this before you even get, you mentioned mobile editing as well as plugins. Are you talking about plugins on your mobile device or
all types?
Just both sides of the equation?
I'm glad you brought that up. Glad you brought that up because Lightroom Classic supports the plugins.
Right.
Lightroom CC for a long time was unable to support. Actually, Lightroom CC I don't think actually supports plugins per se. Yeah. It supports presets, which it didn't for a while.
Oh, so if I design a Lightroom preset, then I can bring it to Classic. I can bring it to CC. Right. But yeah, I didn't think that CC did, what I think we traditionally think of as the plugin ecosystem.
Yeah. So what kind of plugins are there, right? There are plugins that allow you to denoise, take away noise. There's plugins that give you a deeper black and white photos or something like that.
Right.
Plugins that allow you to it's a little bit more in depth than the localized brush that you get in Lightroom.
Okay.
Based on your answers, it sounds like you don't use too many Lightrooms.
I use a few. Yeah, but it's interesting. The first one you said was JPEG Mini, which it's a plugin, and I've never really thought of it as one. Yeah. Because when I think plugin, I guess my mind automatically goes to the editing process. Sure. And so let me ask, because I've gone like wishy-washy on JPEG Mini, where if I just export with like a quality of 80 versus JPEG Mini, are you noticing a quality difference, or is it like you can export JPEG Mini at 100% and it squashes it down to about the file size?
That's what it does.
Okay, so that's the reason. Because I've gone back and forth on, do I want to do this? Do I not want? I'm thinking of speeding up the website, and it's like, well, my file sizes are already kind of good. Yeah. But so it's the quality pop that you get
because, especially when you work like in astrophotography or something where details are really like fine. Yeah. I can see a difference between 100% export and an 80% JPEG export, right? And so what JPEG Mini, I don't know how it works under the scenes. If I would to make an educated guess, I would imagine it would be fractals or something like that, right? Some using math,
mathematical equation. And, stuff comes out. But okay, so that's the hook for it. So that's a good plugin actually.
So I have a 6 terabyte hard drive just full of JPEGs that are kind of in transition from exporting for a client or images that I go to on a frequent basis because I do workshops off of them or something like that, right? Well, when I first bought JPEG Mini, it had an option to, hey, do you want me to scan your computer and see what I can compress? And I was like, go ahead, you know? And so then I pointed it towards that hard drive, and it saved me something like, what was it?
And it's still going now.
It took a long time. The first time took a long time, but I think it saved me something like 60 gigabytes.
Oh, wow. Yeah. And so really specifically for JPEG Mini, this is for photos that are destined to be shared online. Like you said, like, I'm going to export something for a client. They're ultimately going to print it.
Yeah.
You want that to be, you know, complete richness and depth and everything. Yeah. Okay.
So I have had clients that have used the JPEG Mini file and printed it. A lot of the Sony, for instance, right? So Sony, a lot of the images that have made it to like the Best Buy campaign or something like that, they've been JPEG Mini processed. I'm not sponsored. We're not sponsored by them. My recommendation to you guys is they tend to have sales around like Photo Plus. If you are interested, there's a trial you can go grab.
Yeah.
But it saved me a lot of space. And every time I export, now what's the problem with JPEG Mini is you have to have Lightroom export them first. And then it's in your export window in Lightroom, the workflow.
Yes.
It'll export first, and you think you're done. But then Lightroom then invokes JPEG Mini, and JPEG Mini then goes back and then checks them out, and then that part takes a while, like exporting.
But does that happen in the background?
It does, but it shows up in Lightroom as a meter. And Lightroom can, as we all know, can be hog slow.
Okay.
So,
because I knew they do have, JPEG Mini has a standalone product as well. And I've never gotten the plug-in. I was thinking, it'd be nicer, just easier workflow. I mean, the standalone one, I think they have one called JPEG Mini Light or something like that.
JPEG Nano.
Really, it's like, like I have my own femto version of this JPEG thing.
Yeah.
But you can only throw, say, 8 photos a day at it or something like that. So if you really want to kick the tires on it, they do have a completely free product.
So I think what some of the JPEG Mini trials or a smaller version of it will only allow it to export as high as, I think it's like 14 megapixels or something like that. So if you want it to, and you know what? That's how come it takes so long, is because a lot of the photos I shoot are 42 megapixels, and it'll take a long time when I process.
Yeah, that's a big JPEG coming out at 100% quality.
So
that's a good one, though.
How about you? Do you use any?
I do. I use I mean, the first one that comes to mind is Photoshop, which I do actually send things to Photoshop.
That sucker is a plugin if you think about it.
It is kind of weird, and so that one's the obvious one. But I use 2 regularly.
Okay.
Luminar and On One Photo Raw. And those are both programs that can also run standalone, so they kind of have like a hybrid life. You can either use them as your own editor, or you can use them as a plugin. Full disclosure, I've worked with On One as a company for, not worked for them, but with them for 5 years now, maybe. But I've been using the product long before then, so anything I'm saying, it's because I still use it on a day-to-day basis. And I use them because they get me things I can't either do in Lightroom,
or it's easier.
They get you a look that you can't easily get. Like, I really like the way that On One does contrast control. They have a couple of filters in there that are just really good, and their masking tools are really strong. So, for me, a seascape guy, I got nice smooth look in water, and a few of these rocks. Those rocks will really pop. It's super easy for me to make sure that the water doesn't.
Yeah.
And that's just, it ends up, their math is different than texture or clarity in Lightroom. You get a different look. Luminar, I tend to use that more for, it's like for my travel photos more often. Because their approach is much more, we want to use AI. And you almost get like, here's a filter, air quotes. It's got one slider. Like, how much do you want?
Yeah.
Yes or no, kind of in between.
Now, they're the same company that does Photo Luminar too, right?
They are, yeah. Skyloom is the company that runs it. A few years ago, they were actually based in San Diego. They're Seattle now.
They went by a different name too back then.
They were Mac Fun. Yeah, they were only Mac at the time. But Luminar, I like the way their glow looks. If I want to do a
sky replacement,
they have the newer AI stuff. Is pretty interesting. Yeah, so
can't do that in Lightroom very nicely.
You can't do sky replacement. Anything with layers, you can't do in Lightroom. But I tend to use the Luminar for my travel photos more often, where it's just like, here's a, not quite a snapshot, but it's a little more than that. But it's for photos I don't necessarily exactly know what I want, or it's outside of my genre. I like the looks that they come up with. So there's room for multiple things at least in my processing side of it. What about you? You got another one besides JPEG Mini? It's like JPEG Maxi, JPEG Super.
No, you know what? Other than that, I have before Nick Software, also another company based out of San Diego. They have a suite. They had a suite.
Yes.
And then I forgot so it went from Nick Software. Google scooped them up. Then it became a package. Man, I want to say we used to sell for $400.
It was.
Google picked them up. They gave out in kind of an obsoleted or the code was very old version for cheaper. I think it was like $150. And then ultimately they gave it away for free. And then people were like, dude, I love this, but it seems to be not tracking along with the releases that Adobe puts out.
Yep.
Another company scooped them up.
DxO.
Thank you, DxO.
Yep.
And so now it's out, and
and so this is the thing. I mean, I loved Silver Effects. That was that was the first time that, before I fully understood luminosity masks, so they had their U point radial thing. Their black and white renderings are still really, really nice. I'm not going back. I'm not going to go get the Nick suite. And
no, same here.
At this point,
I get the emails.
Well, because it was, it's been, I think someone told me recently, as recently as Monday, this is Friday, as we're recording this, that DxO actually did do an update. Because when DxO bought it, they repackaged it and said, here it is. And all they did was say, we support it on newer OSs. It was the same code base. So there was no new tools. There was nothing else new. And someone told me they actually have done something with it since then.
They have.
But I've figured out another workflow.
Sure.
And as much as I like software and like the different tools, there is only so many hours that I can spend learning new tools and playing with them and paying for them.
So what I found of the suite that I found myself using a lot, I remember there was this program called Define that was part of that suite.
Yes.
Which did really good noise control. And then they also had another one called Viveza.
Yes.
And Viveza was the reason I found myself using it a lot is because it seemed to allow me to do like a local adjustment without the need for a mask or without the need of a paintbrush, right? I would just say, hey, I want to increase the exposure on your face. Boop, put a circle on your face.
Right. That was.
And then drag it in and out. What was it called?
That was the whole U point thing. Yep.
And then I could go ahead and play around with your face.
Yeah.
If I wanted to play around with your face.
Which everyone does.
Yeah. so I use that. Oh man, maybe I can count on one hand how many times a year I use that.
But the thing about that now, unless it's giving you a kind of a unique look, the other tools have caught up. I mean, fundamentally, Lightroom has caught up. There's a lot more
and that's the big
I can
one.
do in Lightroom that I used to not be able to do.
Yeah.
But there are still things that I can't.
Yeah.
Or,
Define was really great. And at the time, the cameras I used years ago, as I would ramp up the ISO, 25,600, which is still today like ridiculous. It's wow, that you're really pushing it.
Yeah.
Well, it would be super noisy, and Define would do a decent job of actually cleaning it up, and I can print it larger. But now, I use 25,600 ISO, and the grain that comes out of the files of my modern cameras,
not as bad.
It's not as bad.
Yeah. So there's a lot of actually, it's an interesting point. A lot of reasons why some plugins will fade away.
Yeah.
The camera technology makes the need for whatever it is no longer necessary. So here's a cool little thing I just learned about Photo Raw. This is on One's thing.
Yeah.
They announced their new beta.
I saw.
And
it's available for free. I think
you can try the beta for free. Yeah. But they have this like all the other companies. They got the AI things in there. They have this thing called AI Match, and it goes and it looks at, for a raw file, it looks at the embedded JPEG, and tries to match the look of that.
No way!
I've only played around with it a little bit, but it was like I'm gonna go shoot in black and white.
Yeah.
I got my raw file, and you say, "Oh, AI Match," and it creates that black and white look for you. It's not too bad at all.
I have to play with that.
That was a neat little thing. I mean, they've got the other, AI just do everything for get the black point, white point, all that kind of stuff, right? But that was a cool little thing. So if there's a particular profile that you like on your camera, or look, or your style, or whatever it is, that was pretty cool.
Can you save that look?
And then you can make a preset out of it or anything like you wanted to. Or export the photo, do anything you want.
So one thing that excites me inside, I'm super excited. I'm
outside,
so glad you said that.
I hate it.
Yeah, I'm outside, I'm going to just... Yeah. Okay. So Sony cameras have this thing called DRO, Dynamic Range Optimization.
Mm-hmm.
And what it does is it brings in highlights and brings in detail in the shadow that can kind of be difficult to do if you have the raw file to try to match it.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering how well it's going to do with the higher DRO levels.
That's an interesting idea. Actually, that's probably an experiment I should run. Is to do some raw plus JPEG shooting.
Yeah, man.
And then see what that can do.
Yeah, it'll save you some time, because a lot of times people like using the raw, but they want the raw to look like their JPEG, but look cleaner, because JPEG will introduce artifacting.
Of course, yeah.
So it'd be kind of nice to just right off the bat.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. It took me a little bit to get my mind around what they were doing with that one. Yeah. But that's pretty neat.
Wow.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this.
Okay.
What kind of presets do you suggest people not use? Like in your experience, what do you think is like a waste of money?
So you're asking a guy who actually sells preset packs.
Oh Oh.
But
hey guy.
So here's my thing on presets. I use them for two things.
Okay.
I don't tend to use like a full blown Lightroom preset. I'll use a finisher, like a split tone. I have like a library of split tone presets. That's all it does.
Oh,
and just to finish off a photo. But like these mega packs where you get like 300 presets.
Yeah, man. I think I've seen 1,000 presets. They're just for $59.
I just think that they're not worth it. I would rather get like Luminar would do the same thing. Here's 10 looks, and you get to see what they look like if someone's done their nice website properly. But I will use things like that as starting points, but also as a learning opportunity. Hit the preset, find out what did it put on the photo, and then play with it a little bit so you can also learn the tool.
Okay.
But I would say be careful with how many you go and get, because it's having more doesn't mean it's better.
And that's right. Right there is the bingo point.
Yeah, but I would say like Lightroom presets by far is I've designed a few for my own use. I don't think I've ever bought one.
I have. Yeah. I have. Some of them are like, some of the ones that mimic film emulsion that is difficult to do otherwise, or it's going to take me a very long time to do. Like some people really like Fuji look. Some people really like the Kodak look, the AG for black and whites, right? Cool. But I mean, some of them, a lot of them are, let's see what we do when we turn the saturation all the way here. And then let's pull it back a notch, and boom, that's preset number 2. Pull it back a notch, that's preset number 3. And I see those.
I see what you mean.
You know what I mean? And it's just like, holy moly. And by the way, that's like 3,000 presets for $59.99 if you call right now.
Yeah.
It's one of those.
Okay.
How do you feel about those?
Those I don't like. If I want to get, I want a bunch of different looks.
Yeah.
I don't want If I was looking at the family photo album, I don't want to see, here's Uncle Ted in front of the house. Here's Uncle Ted at the side of the house. Here's Uncle Ted kind of at the front of the house, but you can still see the side of the house.
You know what? I only like those, but ironically, right?
Yeah.
So, okay. I think it's funny if you have a collection of Uncle Ted in front or in various areas of the house. But that being said, if you disagree with me on the presets, the 3,000 pack for $60, you can go ahead and unsubscribe.
And
you can unsubscribe.
And speaking of unsubscribe, you've been waiting for this shoe to drop. So this is the last Photographers and Cars podcast. This is the last one.
Yeah.
For those that have been with us, thank you very much. But shutting it down. Yep, going to put the car in the garage, and this is never going to be driven again.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's nothing other than life gets busy, business gets busy, and something has to give. And this is going to be the thing, at least, it needs to be the thing for me.
This was always an experiment, right? This was,
for sure. Yeah.
This was something where whenever Scott and I would go and photograph, we would always just kind of like chat as soon as we were done in the back of someone's car. And, we're putting away our tripods. Hey, what do you think about this? And we would go on for like half an hour, 45 minutes sometimes. And then one day I was like, hey, we really should record this. It might be of value to someone. And that's really how it started. And it's fun. It forced me to get out of what I needed to do on a day-to-day and go shoot and chat.
Right.
So,
and that's the cool part.
Yeah.
And then at least, to share like a little inside baseball on what was happening like on my side of the equation here with the podcast is after all this is done, I gobble up all this video and it represents 4 to 5 hours of editing and, trimming
that's
and so
not
forth.
Fun.
And publication, and then that started to become now. I don't know if I want to go and have another chat because it's no longer. This is going to be great. We're going to go out and shoot. We're going to have a good time. We're going to go talk. So that that was part of it. But then other things where it's like other thing. I have other projects that are coming up fast and furious that need time spent on them, and so ultimately. Yeah. Some things.
We're both a couple of photographers that have day jobs
and families. So it's a pretty big juggling act sometimes to keep life work balance, especially when work maybe with air quotes for photo stuff. But again, I mean,
it's been awesome.
It's been a lot of fun, and
we'll keep the channel up.
The YouTube channel will be there for sure. I don't know what'll happen to the RSS feeds and if podcatchers and whatnot fade them off into non-existence, but the YouTube stuff will be all there. And
we'll come back in various forms. Maybe not in a car. Yep. On our own channels, maybe.
Yeah, I mean, you're still doing
plenty
of postings on. You seem very active on Facebook and Instagram in particular.
I may appear that way.
Maybe I'm wrong.
But no, because life is so busy, it's very difficult for me to go on there. But I find it is easy for me to do Instagram stories, and I find. That's what I'll do if I need to get video of myself somehow out there.
Yeah, but I mean, for me, I'm still doing regular posts on my my YouTube channel, so that stuff is still there. Yeah. And I don't know what else to say.
For the 15 of you, I want to high five, give you guys hugs. You guys are awesome. I owe you a Diet Pepsi.
Ooh.
If that's some, in one way, if you guys come and meet, we'll go enjoy some drinks.
Yep. So do I get to sign off with the cheesiness?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. One last cheesiness.
Don't be sad that it's over. Smile that it happened. Cut suspense.
I am not going to miss that. No, I am going to miss that. Man.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, we won't see you next week.
Yep.
But you know how to get a hold of us. It's been fun. Yep. All right, guys. Peace.
Yep.